Hello and welcome to Piwik PRO YouTube video series. Topic of the video: personalize your website content using Piwik PRO CDP Audiences. So, what we're gonna learn? We're gonna explain what we mean by personalization in the context of Piwik PRO CDP, i.e. Piwik PRO Audiences. Then we're gonna explain step-by-step process for personalizing content, a personalized banner for 3 different audience examples. Okay, let's dive in. What are the main steps in personalizing content using Piwik PRO CDP? First, we need to create an audience or audiences in the CDP. Step 2, create personalized content and wrap it up in a tag manager tag. So we're going to be using CDP and tag manager. Step 3, create a trigger for that tag to specify under what conditions the personalized content will be displayed. Let's take a closer look though. By creating an audience, we mean creating conditions for when the user joins the audience. And the best part about it is that we can be very specific. And that is thanks to the fact that we can use data that was collected or is being collected, so live. So basically, whenever the user interacts with the website or an app. Moreover, we can specify the interactions frequency, which may signal the level of interest, but also recency, which makes the data relevant so that the interest is still there and it is not outdated. On top of that, we can ingest data from other systems like CRM, online surveys, support portals, and so on, which could be also used to create a powerful audience. So we can see we can be quite specific about our audience and it can be very targeted, and we can create many audiences to which we would like to personalize our content. Step 2 will be creating content and add it in the form of code snippet to a tag in the tag manager. We can add the code depending on our use case via 3 tag types. Custom code tag. Here you can have full control over HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which gives you flexibility. Custom content tag, which is where you target a specific element on a website that already exists and you place your content code there. In many cases, it might be easier to place the content using this tag and make it more consistent with other content on the website. Pop-up tag, which is probably the easiest way of adding the content code, but the pop-up may not always be a good choice for each and every use case. Step 3, we need to specify when we want the personalized content to be served, which could happen simply when the user joins the audience, i.e. meets the audience conditions. So we would use then a dedicated audience detection trigger, or we would use any other available trigger, such as click trigger or page scroll trigger, and then add yet another condition to that trigger, and we could call it audience membership condition, besides the regular trigger conditions. This means the user would need to perform a specific action like clicking on an element we specify, while also belonging to the targeted audience segment for the personalized content to be displayed. Now let's get to the part where I explain step by step how to set up the personalized content with CDP on your website. So what would be my use case? Here I have this fictitious demo bank website, and let's say I would like to promote or encourage visitors to download a financial guide or insurance guide or stock market guide for 2025. But I don't want to serve that sort of content to everyone. I want to just reach to the visitors that could be potentially interested in that guide to avoid any sort of clutter on my website. So how would I know that they might be interested in that sort of content? Well, in here under blog, I have those different blog post categories: finances, insurances, and down here there's stock market. So whenever user would go, say, 3 times to the finances blog post category or insurances or stock markets, for each of those I would serve this different content. Now, what sort of content? I would like to serve a banner. So in here I already have the content ready. So let me just show you how it would look like if I were to add it to the website. So in here, let's go to inspect the element. And let's add the content. So that's the financial guide. But I also have a different version for insurance. There'll be different sort of guide, different message. The same is for stock market. So tailored message for specific interest based on the usage of the website. If I go to finance 3 times, I will see the finance banner. If I go to insurance blog post category, I will see the insurance guide. And it's the same as for stock market. So that's my use case. Let's refresh the page. And now the first step would be to create an audience. I already created audience for the financial guide. So in here, I have those rather simple conditions. I want the activity of the user to be between December 16th and December 22nd. And today is 18th. So if I were to interact with this website, I would fall into those sort of conditions. But then the most important condition is that in here we have blog post category is finances, meaning let's go into edit mode. I have this custom dimension that is being tracked for the analytics purposes, but I can use it in the CDP as well. So I'm tracking blog post category. And whenever visitor goes to the blog post category at least 3 times, so that's my frequency, so that's the level of interest, I can increase it or decrease it in the last, say, 3 days. So that's my recency. I can set it up to hours, minutes, days, etc. So whenever visitor goes to that kind of blog post category, they are joining the audience. So that's my audience. But I don't have the other audiences for insurances and stock markets blog post category. So let's just copy this one, change the name, insurance guide audience. Let's hit copy and let's just change it to insurances. I'm just going to copy it from the website just to be sure that I'm not doing any typos, and I'm going to paste it here and I'm going to save it. So that's 2 audiences already, and I'm going to create the third one, stock markets guide audience. Let's hit copy, and again I'm going to copy and paste the value. So now I have 3 audiences. That's it when it comes to customer data platform. Now we can move on to tag manager. And again, I already have the banner ready. And in this case, I'm using the custom code. So that's the custom code tag. But I earlier mentioned that we can also use custom content and pop-up. So I'm using this one. So the most basic one. As for the code, that's just simple JavaScript that basically append the sort of this div into the top of the page that you've seen. You've seen how it looks like. And here we have some styling. We have a document that will be to which we're going to link. It's fairly easy to generate something like this similar code. If you're not familiar with JavaScript or HTML, it's fairly easy to do it with the ChatGPT. So I would strongly encourage you to try that. Anyway, in here, we also have a consent type, which is A/B testing and personalization. So that's the most appropriate consent type, but obviously I could remove it or whatever I need to do with the consent, depending on which sort of regulations you need to adhere to. But what I really need to is to add a trigger, because we already have a tag. So that step is done. So now I need to attach a specific trigger to each particular tag. So let's start with the stock market guide. So I need to add a trigger, and I could use all different triggers, but I'm going to use the audience detection trigger. So as soon as the user joins the audience, that is when the tag will be triggered. So stock market trigger, that's my name of the trigger. And let's add the audience trigger. In here, you would normally have the regular tag conditions, but in here we have audiences. So that's all I really want to do here. So stock market is here, and I'm going to add it and I'm going to save it. Let's do the same for a finance guide. Let's add a trigger, audience detection. Let's hit save. Now insurance. Let's give it a name. Let's add audience condition and let's save it. Now we need to test it. So I need to close that. And let's go into debug mode before we publish it. So the changes are not happening live on the website. We are in the debug mode. So what we need to do, we need to go to the page, and let's say we want to trigger the finances banner. So that's a 1 page view, 2 page views, 3 page views. And we can see that the financial guide for 2025 was served, and we can go back to the finance guide audiences and we can see that the profile was added to the page, and that's my email, that's my profile. Now another thing that we should take into consideration is that the tag will be served only once per session by default. So what it means is that I can see my banner now, but if I were to refresh the page, the banner's gone. Now how would I make sure that the banner is being served on each and every page or throughout the entire session? Well, in this case, we need to go back to our tag, so financial guide tag. If I were to change the one that just disappeared and go to trigger and edit the trigger, and towards the bottom, we have this setting called multiplicity. And by default, it is set to serve the tag once in a session, but we could change it to once per each page or many times during the session. Now, I'm going to change it to many times during the session, but that does not mean that the tag will be served forever. But first, let me show you whether it's being added now or not. So we can see it's being added now, but it's not going to be served forever, because in the conditions we can sort of decide the date range in which the banner will be served. So that's one place in which we can sort of address the time frame boundaries. Another place would be to the flight dates. So under the tag settings, if we were to go to the flight dates, we can also decide the dates and the time when the tag will be triggered. Now, the final thing that we need to do, let's save it, is to publish the changes for them to go live on the website.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to our channel. Check the description below to find some useful links like free Piwik Pro sign-up page, community forum page, and links to related videos. Until next time.